Esselamu Aleyküm ve Rahmetullahi ve Berekat. Sayın kardeşlerim, Türk kardeşler, sizi bu webinar seminerinde gördüğüme çok sevindim.
My dear Turkish friends, brothers and sisters, it's great to see you in this Congress. I will be speaking in English. If you let me, I would like to continue in English. I am going to deliver you a presentation. Let me start sharing my screen. Just give me a second, please.
Benim konum concept of Islam and its politicization in Central Asia. And Islamism is the most passionate ideology of resistance in the world today. Islam has been fundamental to the life of Central Asia for more than a millennium. The Central Asian region has, in its turn, played an invaluable role in Islamic history. Many Muslim scholars, spiritual leaders, and dynasties originated from this region and contributed much to the development of Islamic sciences, culture, and civilization. The last three decades have been marked by the resurgence of Islam in post-Soviet Central Asia after the long 70-year destruction and suppression of religions, religious institutions, educational venues, and Islamic continents by the Soviet regime. Inasmuch as this religious resurgence is having a considerable impact on the personal and social lives of Central Asian Muslims. The issue of political Islam has become one of the most debated and controversial in political and academic circles, as well as in the expert community and in the media. In an atmosphere of severe political, economic, and social crises, coupled with the ideological and identitional vacuum caused by the collapse of the official ideology, many Central Asian Muslims began to perceive Islam as the only alternative to communism and other political systems or ideologies. Early political Islam emerged in some parts of Uzbekistan and Tajikistan under these circumstances at the beginning of 1990s. These societies were culturally Muslim, but had been deprived of a formal Islamic education system and Islamic intellectual life for 70 years. However, political Islam, being either a popular and not elitist movement or an ideology, needs to have more or less solid intellectual and societal underpinnings. For example, in Turkey, Milli Görüş and its affiliated groups, and many other conservative Muslim groups. The numerous offshoots of the Egyptian and Syrian Muslim brotherhoods, the Pakistani group Jama'at al-Islami, and many others have all molded Muslim public opinion in their countries for decades. On the contrary, post-Soviet Central Asia was post-atheistic. Furthermore, Central Asian Muslims, where their own livelihoods could be characterized as the 7 decades of Sovietism and amnesia, lost knowledge, a result of 70 long Soviet years, plays an important role in people's reflections on Islam, or more precisely, the Muslimness of society. The effects of early political Islam in the 1990s featured a gross mishandling and overaction of the incumbent Uzbek administration, to the geographically limited outburst of oppositional political Islam. Costs include stalled democratization in Uzbekistan, and even a reversal of the political processes initiated during perestroika. The result is a host of rebranded totalitarian practices. On the other hand, the mistakes of local Muslim leaders, particularly in the most restive Namangan region, one of province in Uzbekistan, exacerbated the fears of the secular elites and ignored the realities of the post-Soviet and post-atheistic society, and should thus not be overlooked. Overreaction to oppositional political Islam eventually led to an overall secularization. The process of threat construction of presenting an issue of phenomenon that does not necessarily belong to a security realm in security terms, and even as an existential threat of political Islam and all Islams that the state cannot control. A position above all religions was identified as a criminal conspiracy, as imported and as aiming to destabilize the country and whole region. In the end of policy against a non-approved, religious, social, and political doctrines was adopted. Even the state's role in refereeing became one of the most unpredictable and frustrating. For example, the shift from being government approved to terrorists can happen shockingly quickly and takes a religious scholar or his followers by surprise. First, the equation of Islamism, which in essence means political Islam, with religious radicalism, let alone with terrorism, is an aberration, since Islamism is a range of modern political movements, ideological trends, and state-directed policies. Also, it is kind of instrumentalization of Islamic teachings for political goals. Second, oppositional political Islam in Central Asia has been conditioned by factors such as the crisis of legitimacy and the weak state, which is to say the weak governmental capacity of the Central Asian states in policy, technical, and financial terms. Third, while it's implausible to deny the threat of radical political Islam, the fact that radical Islamism may be generated, employed, and exacerbated by political groupings for their own gain cannot be ignored. In particular, we cannot discount the role of clan politics if we want to understand the broader political picture in Uzbekistan and Tajikistan. In other words, we cannot help but wonder if their nexus between the emergence of radical political Islam and power strugglers and other political gamers in Central Asian countries. This is question. Fourth, in exploring radical political Islam in Central Asia, the extent of a particular nexus between politics and criminal underground should not be overlooked. Particularly in Kyrgyzstan and Tajikistan, we can speculate about the existence of nexus between some political groupings and an organized criminal underground, essentially involved drug traffic. Fifth, it would be wrong to think that the hearts and minds of a majority of Central Asian Muslims are preoccupied with political Islam of any variety. Claims about creeping Islamism being embraced by the majority of Central Asians as speculative. Establishing so-called Islamic regime is not on the agenda even of the great majority of religiously motivated Central Asian Muslims who try to live their own version of Islam, which in the main is entirely dissociated from politics. Six, the Muslimness of the great majority of Central Asian Muslims is cultural and individualized. It manifests itself mainly in personal life and goes hand in hand with a secular mindset, which rejects making Islamism the aim of majority of Central Asian Muslims. Only a few transnational Islamist organizations like Hizb ut-Tahrir promote political aims. Adepts of such organizations can be found in Central Asia. This organization operates like Socialist International, since one of its primary concerns in the lack of social justice and solidarity among exploited and colonized Muslims. A lack that can be eliminated, they claim, by creating a global Khalifa. However, Hizb ut-Tahrir is weakly enshrined in the regime's countries because it has been made into Bajiman. Not only radical but also peaceful Islamist groups are still fringe in Central Asia, and organizations with Islamist agendas are very marginal and strictly localized. The five Central Asian countries, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, and Uzbekistan, face an ongoing terrorist threat from their nationals who have traveled abroad to join groups affiliated to both the Islamic State in 2019 year. Islamic State continued to inspire its supporters and sympathizers, including self-radicalized individuals and various homegrown sleeper cells, to mount attacks in and beyond the region. Meanwhile, Islamic State affiliated Central Asian groups remain active in Syria and Afghanistan and have strengthened their online presence by diversifying their propaganda tactics. While Islamist groups have a limited presence domestically, the region is a significant contributor of foreign fighters to the Middle East theater. Estimators indicate between 2,000 and 5,000 Central Asians have migrated to join jihadist groups in Syria and Iraq over the last decade, the majority being Kyrgyz, Tajik. Many have since been killed in battle, while some have relocated to other conflict zones or returned to their home countries. In Kyrgyzstan, for example, the authorities arrested two Kyrgyz citizens who attempted to enter the country along its border in the southwestern Balkan region in May 2021, but had reportedly participated in armed conflict in Syria. State border guards also found Kalashnikov bullets in their positions during the arrest. My conclusion, dear colleague, critical analysis of the threat of political Islam in Central Asia shows that a key feature is its endeavoring to help and solutions for the real needs of the majority of ordinary people, as such as the demands and expectations of Central Asian people are not fundamentally different from those of people living in the West and other countries, and particularly of people living under authoritarian regimes, people who have lost so many freedoms and rights future hopes, and human resources over the last 2 decades in the name of the fight against radical Islamism. Central Asian Muslim communities need to get acquainted with the progressive and reformist Muslim discourses, such as those developed by Al-Fadl, Amina, Wadud, Al-Na'im, and others. Such discourses can elevate the suspicions of their secular elites and help Muslim activists to focus on their country's real problems which are the lack of meritocracy, of access to global knowledge and technology, and a need for the systemic protection of human rights and the environment. Thank you. My publications on the research topic, maybe we translate several books in Islamism and modern Islam in Central Asia, especially in Uzbekistan. Thank you for your attention, dear colleagues. Teşekkürler ederim.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bekmirzaev. Any question or any comment on the floor? Var mı bir sorusu olan veya yorum yapacak olan?